What's quack-a-lackin'? Today we are just outside the town of Luverne, Minnesota at Blue Mounds State Park. And Blue Mounds is known primarily for one thing, and that is an incredibly huge herd of bison that they have. So we are in search of bison today, and just in case we're not lucky enough to see the bison, there are a few other points of interest that I want to show you along the way. But first, just let me give you a shot of this view behind me. This is absolutely incredible. This viewpoint is known as Eagle Rock Vista. And just look how incredibly stunning and beautiful it is. This part of southwest Minnesota, in fact, everywhere I've been in southwest Minnesota, has been incredibly beautiful. Now, there are a few things that I definitely want to see today while I'm at Blue Mounds State Park. Unfortunately, I have never been here before. I've been wanting to come here since last year, and this is my first time to actually make it. So I don't entirely know my way around, and this place has infinite miles of hiking trails. So it's the type of place that you could come to again and again and again and see different sections every time. But there are, besides the bison, there are a couple of other points of interest that I really want to see and document on video, and as luck would have it, one of them is just right here, so I get to have one of them under my belt for sure. Let me give you a quick shot of this building. At first glance, this would appear to be an abandonment, and in fact it is an abandoned visitor center. But before it was a visitor center for Blue Mounds State Park, it was something much more significant. This is actually the home of an author named Frederick Manfred. He built this home directly into the cliff face behind the home. And Mr. Manfred was an author who was most known for writing books related to stories involving the Midwest United States. He loved the Midwest. And what he is most known for is coining the phrase Siouxland. Today, if you talk about the area of the country where South Dakota, Iowa, and Nebraska converge, that area is known as Siouxland, or sometimes referred to as the Siouxland Empire. And Mr. Manfred is the man who coined that phrase, and this was his home at one point in time. In 1972, the state of Minnesota acquired this home and all the surrounding land to create Blue Mounds State Park. And once they acquired the home, they turned it into the visitor center. But it's been closed and boarded up since 2015 just due to age and deterioration, moisture seeping into the walls from the cliff face, et cetera, et cetera. They deemed it unsafe for entry. But it's at least still standing, and we can get a look at the exterior of this historic home. This is an incredibly rocky path we find ourselves going on, and I just wanted to give you guys a sense of what it is like. Now, Blue Mounds State Park is a combination of native prairie, just wide open grasslands with native prairie flowers, and these prairies are particularly known for having tons of prickly pear cactus. And I wish I had made it out here sooner, because as I learned today, the prickly pear cactus are in bloom typically from June to July. So if you are in this area in June or July, I would highly encourage you to make a trip out to Blue Mounds State Park. But it's incredibly beautiful any time of year. I think it would be a nice spot to come back during fall, just for these wooded areas. But in addition to the grasslands in the wooded areas, Blue Mounds State Park is also famous for its cliff faces. There are people who come from all across this region of the country to scale the 100-foot cliffs that just line this whole area. We're not even 100 yards away from the Manfred home that I just showed you, and we are already in an area with incredibly large boulders, cliff faces, overlooking a steep hillside, very much like the view that we saw before, only with trees obscuring it. And we're just getting started into this terrain. We're barely on the edge of it, and it's already so incredibly beautiful. It's nice to be back out in nature again, because for the last few weeks, we've taken tours of different historic downtown areas. And as much as I love exploring these downtown areas, because I really am a fan of small town America and the stories behind those towns. So I really love those videos, but after 3 weeks in a row of it, it's nice to just be back out in nature, because this is where I feel like I'm in my element, and this is the happy, peaceful place. So there's not a lot of story to tell this week, so I'm just going to show you around this beautiful spot and give you a glimpse for yourself. just wanted to quickly show you the very smooth ripples in the top of the boulder here. You see, at one point in time, this entire part of the country was at the bottom of a very deep ocean. And following that, it was covered by an enormous glacier. About 12,000 years ago, this whole part of the country was underneath a very thick layer of ice. And as this glacier began to melt and recede, it sometimes left these very smooth ripple-like grooves into the surface of the stone. And in fact, if you go out to the Pipestone National Monument, there are stones there with ripples that look like the sand underneath the water at the beach, how it has just those smooth ripples. The stone looks like that. Sorry about the backlighting. I'm never going to learn my lesson with that, I guess. But the stone looks like that at Pipestone. And if you look around any of these quarry areas, if you look close enough, you can find signs of this glacial recession even today. By the way, if you're new here, my name is Quackers. I like to show beautiful places in the world around me and talk a little bit about the history associated with those places. I find that it adds a layer of depth to a location and know something about it. And if you're not new here, hi, my name is Quackers. I probably should have said that at some point before 19 weeks into this journey, but there you go. Now, let's carry on. I had 3 objectives in mind for today's video at Blue Mounds State Park. One is that I wanted to see and show the Frederick Manfred Home because he is a man of historical prominence in this area. And so I wanted to see what his home looked like, and I wanted to show it to you, and I'm happy that I had an opportunity to do that. Second, of course, and probably first and foremost, is I wanted to see the bison. That's what this place is most famous for, is they have a herd of more than 100 pure strain bison that have a huge bison range to roam. And I do know where the bison were located about half an hour ago, but they have a huge area. And just because they were there a half hour ago does not mean they are still there. And it can be kind of hit or miss in seeing these things because they are not always in an area where they are visible. So that one is a coin flip. We'll just have to see if we can find the bison or not. And then the third objective is along the top of the cliffs, there is a very ancient looking, mysterious stone wall. And I want to see this thing for myself and tell you all about it. So let's just carry on and see if we can find either the bison or the stone wall. It says there's a guided map inside, but it's empty, no map. That's okay. We've got one right here. We've got a map, and we have beautiful, beautiful native prairie. Just endless. I just wanted to pause for a moment and just take in this incredible view. What a blessing it is to be able to see this for myself and then to be able to show it. I don't know if the camera will pick it up because it is quite a ways in the distance, but there is a lake down there. That is the Upper Mound Lake. And I believe that lake was created with a dam that was part of the WPA projects in the 1930s. It was part of President Roosevelt's New Deal for America. And that created this dam that you have here today, which resulted in the lake. But there's lots of mining, agriculture, farming. And then here in Blue Mounds, there's just native, natural prairie. And speaking of which, if you do come out to Blue Mounds, as tempting as it is to go off of the path and go up to the rock faces here, these outcroppings, I would highly recommend that you just stick to the paved path. I'm someone who likes to wander off the path myself, but this area is native prairie, and we have very little native prairie area left. These native prairies are a delicate balance of native grasses and wildflowers, and they form their own little ecosystem. And at one time, they dominated the landscape. That was all that was here. But we've lost the vast majority of them due to a combination of things, partially due to urbanization. As towns developed into cities and spread out, they required land to do this. But the largest part of it was due to agriculture, because you needed land to grow these crops. So as farms created a footprint to grow crops for agriculture, each time a farm developed, that was a little bit less prairie that remained. And so today there is very little native natural prairie left, and it's a very delicate ecosystem. So if you come out to Blue Mounds State Park, just please stick to the path and don't go wandering out. The sign is at least encouraging that this is a possible location for viewing bison, but it appears that we need binoculars from this location, and I can definitely see why. I can definitely see why, but at least we know that this is one of the vantage points. And in fact, this is the point where I had told you the bison were at. But they are no longer within view. Oh, whoa, whoa. Let's see if we can zoom in. I see one. I see one. Check him out. I know the zoom is very shaky with the wind. I apologize for that. But look, objective 2, success. Success, we've seen a bison. And I want to go over there so badly to try to get a closer look. But I had just told you why it's so important that we not go walking across these native prairie lands. So I'm gonna forbid myself from doing that, but wow, we saw a bison, we did. Now, of course, I want to get a closer look, and I want to give you a closer look for sure. So we're going to keep looking. We're not stopping with the search for bison, but that at least shows that they are here, and they are in this vicinity. They are. So we're on the hunt, and at the very least, we can technically count that. So that's 2 out of 3. I do want to find more bison, but if we can find this stone wall now and hit a trifecta, I'm going to call that a really good day. But wow, we saw a bison at Blue Mounds State Park. Let's go. Oh my days. Oh my days, we found them. We found them, they're right here. I know the zoom is terrible, but I just want to get you a little bit closer if I can. Let's go a little bit closer. Check it out. We found a substantial part of the bison herd here at Blue Mounds State Park. Sadly, this is as close as I can get. A lot of people refer to these animals as buffalo, and I have to admit that I did myself for a good part of my life, but in fact they are not buffalo, they are the American bison. Buffalo are a species of animals such as oxen that live in Asia and parts of Africa, and when French explorers first came to this area, the similarities between the American bison and water buffalo and things of that nature kind of confused the naming, and that's something that carried over as the area entered into settlement, and it became just the common naming. But just for clarification, either naming is recognized and acceptable, but if you want to be specific, they are not buffalo, they are American bison. And Blue Mounds State Park has a very vast bison range for these animals, and they have over 100 pure strain American bison here living at the park. And I find that to be incredible. There were at one time an estimated 38 to 100 million bison, and today they are teetering on the edge of being an endangered species. If they're not an endangered species, they very well could be. So it's nice to know that the state of Minnesota provides a habitat and a home where these animals can continue to thrive. I saw these and I just wanted to give you a quick shot. These are the prickly pear cactus. These fields are known for these cactus, so I would not advise coming out here barefoot, that's for sure. And as I just said, I wouldn't advise walking in these fields at all. But this is the prickly pear cactus, and just look at how long the needles on this cactus are. Wow, you don't want to step on that. You definitely don't. And as I said a few minutes ago, these cactus in this area are in bloom from June to July. So if you come out here to Blue Mounds at that time of year, those cactus will have flowers all over them. This is absolutely incredible. I may have to resort to the zoom again. I'm not sure how good you can see them. I know the zoom quality just sucks, but let me do it a little bit, try to show you these bison. Just another quick view. I mean, I came all the way to Blue Mounds to see bison. I've been wanting to do this since last year when I first found out these bison exist here. I've been wanting to come see them, and a year later, I'm finally here. I wish I could get a better shot without the zoom, but I'll take what I can get. All right, so now we've had a couple of different views of the bison. I really wish that I could get closer, I do. But that's as close as that I could get us without walking on the grass. And I definitely don't want to walk on the grass just to get a photograph. But wow, we saw bison. That's 2 objectives down. We saw the Frederick Manfred Home, we saw the bison. Now, if I can just hit a trifecta and find this stone wall, because I really want to see this wall for myself, and I want to tell you about the wall, but there's no point in telling you about it if I can't show it to you. So I'm going to keep moving. I'm going to show you some views along the way, and hopefully the next time you see me, we will be at a stone wall on the top of a cliff somewhere. We are definitely on the right path. I don't see the wall anywhere, but this is the quarry that the wall led to. So I know it's somewhere in this vicinity, but this is a historic old rock quarry. If you go into the town of Luverne, the historic buildings that are constructed of quartzite, this is the exact spot where that stone came from. Hi, the sun is in my eyes, as it often is on this channel. So I can't say what I've got behind me, but what I can tell you about this rock quarry is it is an incredibly popular spot for rock climbing. I don't see anyone out here climbing today, but there is a parking lot down at the bottom end where you can get easy access to the bottom side of this quarry, and you can go down and scale these walls. And from what I'm told, the difficulty level is pretty intense. So it's not something that you want to just come out and do as an amateur without any equipment or training. Definitely take some classes and come out with a few people just for safety, so you have someone to help anchor your ropes and your lines and to be a counterweight and whatever else is needed. I'm not a rock climber, I don't know. But don't do it alone is what I'm saying. Do it safely, but it is an incredibly beautiful place to come rock climbing. But the story is that there is a very old stone wall somewhere around the top side of this quarry. And the legend is that prior to the settlers' arrival, the indigenous people here built this wall, and that they would corral bison towards the wall and run them off of the cliff. The bison hunting explanation of the wall is a piece of local lore that persists even until today. And where the story came from is that when the original settlers first arrived in this area, at the base of this quarry, there were just huge piles of bison bones to be found. And so they came to the conclusion that the earlier generations of indigenous people must have built this wall as a hunting mechanism, and that they would drive herds of bison into the wall, and having nowhere else to go, the bison would fall off of the cliff to their death, where the people could go down below and harvest the remains. Now, while that is a piece of local lore that still exists even until today in the town of Luverne, at one point, I want to say in the 1980s, archaeologists came out to study the area and they came to a different conclusion. What they had said was that the stone wall was most likely constructed by some of the very earliest people to explore this area, fur traders and trappers most likely, and that the bison bones at the base of the quarry were actually just the result of after people had harvested the meat and the pelt, they had nothing left to do with the bones and they needed a place to discard them, and that just seemed to be as good a place as any. So that's the official archaeological opinion about this quarry, but locals still persist that this was used for hunting and that herds of bison were driven over the edge of this cliff, and that was how things were done in the oldest of times. So I don't know which version is true. I'm willing to accept either one. I just enjoy having a chance to look at that incredible view. I mean, look how beautiful this is. It don't get any better than this. It just doesn't. There's some really amazing crevices along the top of this cliff. Don't drop your keys down there, you'll never see them again. Wow, the view is beautiful. But I still don't have the wall. I still haven't found the wall. I mean, it's really nice to explore the top of the cliffs, and I wish I had time to explore the bottom as well, because you always get a completely different perspective at the bottom as the top. But sadly, I don't seem to see the wall anywhere here. Maybe it no longer exists. Maybe it was just something that was once there. So I guess that about wraps up today's little adventure at Blue Mounds State Park, just outside the gorgeous town of Luverne, Minnesota. I failed to find the stone wall. I was really wanting to photograph this stone wall, but I just failed to find it. However, we did get to see the remains of a historic home of a man of literary importance in this region. So I really enjoyed getting to see the Frederick Manfred Home. We got to see some beautiful cliffs, at least the top side. We'll have to come back another day to explore the bottom side. And more importantly than that, we got to see bison. We got to see bison. There are people who will come here 3 or 4 times before they actually get to see them. And we got to see them the very first time out. I got to see them and I got to show them to you, at least within the scope that I could. I recognize the zoom is very limited and not ideal, but I work with what I've got, right? So at least I got to do that. And I'll try to come back another time in the future and see if we can get closer, get a better shot. And maybe we'll still find the stone wall. Who knows? But that about wraps things up today for Blue Mounds State Park, and we will definitely come back again at some point in the future, because we've only scratched the surface here. We've only looked at one tiny little section of one side of Blue Mounds State Park. There is a lot here to see and explore, and I highly encourage you to do so for yourself. Come spend the day out here and just enjoy the day outdoors. And I realize that I normally like the vlog to be centered around some type of a story or a piece of local lore, and I realized that we were a little bit weak on that today, but just we've explored some downtown areas for a few weeks in a row, and I just wanted to take the day off and spend the time in nature and to bring you along with me. I love it when you're here. So if you enjoyed today's time outdoors, if you enjoyed the scenery or just enjoyed the video in general, please do me a huge favor and tap the subscribe button down below or tap the thumbs up. Neither one of these things cost you anything at all, and they sincerely do a lot to give the video a little bit of a push in the algorithm, help it get seen by more people. So thank you very much for that. Double thank you for watching. If you're seeing this part right now, that means that you actually watched all the way to the end, and I'm very thankful for that. So thank you. I love you guys. Quackers out.